Everyone, welcome to the Brush and Bone podcast, the podcast where we talk about all things art in nerd culture, including comic books, tabletop role-playing games, and everything else. My name is Vase, I am your host, and with me is my co-host.
I'm Gio.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Mike Sirjue. Did I pronounce that right?
It's Sirjue. Think Jewish knight. Sirjue.
Sirjue. Oh, I love that. I'm into the tabletop role-playing games, so that's right up my alley right there. Sirjue.
Cool, man.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have you on, Mike. So
Welcome, Mike.
You were brought on because you and Gio are friends, and you guys have been kind of doing the art circles down in South Florida, so that's pretty cool. Tell us who you are and what you're known for.
Well, my name's Michael Sirjue. I do art. I'm a graduate of the Sequential Artist Workshop in Orlando, Florida, where we did comic art primarily. I'm known for sort of like comic-y, like cartoons from newspaper cartoons, not like animated cartoons. But like sort of cutesy, not cutesy, but sort of simplistic style with a lot of detailed backgrounds. So that's kind of my bread and butter right there. That's usually what I do.
Very cool. So, I knew that you had gone to art school and studied art. And, I would describe your style, as like comic strip style, but a little bit more detailed for sure. It is very distinct. It definitely stands out, and very few artists can brag about this. And this is what I like about your work, is that when you see one of your pieces, you know it's you right away. I mean, it's very distinct and unique, and very few artists are able to do that. You know, you have Dali, you have your Picassos, and of course, a lot of people copied him. But at the time, Van Gogh, nobody else did work like him. And I think your work has elements of all of those, but at the same time, it's very, very distinct.
I'd be pretty impressed if I had some Dali in my work. I don't, because I don't study Dali because he's so surrealist, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm not touching that. That's good.
No, I think the elements of Dali that I see in your work is more really abstract subject matter to drive a point on social commentary, on political commentary. It is very unique.
Yeah. There we go. We said it at the same time, and people can't tell us apart because our voices are similar.
That's right.
Hey, Mike. So you went to art school. I'm curious about your art school experience. I've never been to art school. I don't think Gio has. What was that like?
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Really?
No. You basically go and they give you a ton of work that you have to do, and then like once you've done it, they hang it up on a wall, and then everybody gives you shit for it.
Oh wow, yeah.
And that's how it goes. No, the thing is, I went to film school before I went to art school, and I loved film school. I was there for 4 years. And then I went to art school, and like the difference between film school and art school is film school, the founder of our film school wanted to make a mentally stable environment. When I went to art school, that was not the case. That was like, we were dealing with crazy people. And the teachers were crazy, the students were crazy, and art school, like I did a year. They wanted me to continue for a second year. I didn't do that, mostly because I was running out of money and that I was so unhappy there. But like the education was fairly decent. I had a teacher that yelled at me for 5 minutes that I had to drop her class because she was fucking insane. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of my art school, and I think I'm officially kicked out of that art school because I kept complaining about racism. But, yeah. So, art school.
That's very interesting. I watched a video of a lady who opened an art institute of her own, and she went to art school, and she came off very pretentious, basically talking down anybody who didn't study art in art school and who made abstract art. And did you find a lot of pretentious, a lot of that kind of attitude
No,
there
no,
at art
no,
school?
not pretension. Because we were a comic school, so comic school was like already like, it's like the low art, or I think it's the better art because we actually have to be good at what we do. But yeah, it really wasn't pretentious. I mean, it was kind of like pre George Floyd, and like feminism was really big, so like all the women hated me that were
Oh
there
no.
for like reasons that didn't make sense. So I was just sort of like, it wasn't, it was liberal to a point where it was destructive, and at the same time all the like teachers and everybody there except for me were white. And we were in Gainesville, Florida, and at the time, I hear it's better now, but Gainesville, Florida was racist as fuck, and nobody was acknowledging that. And that was terrible
That
for me.
that's funny. My
Wow.
wife went to school in Gainesville. She actually went to UF, and she says the same thing. She says that outside of UF, there were I forgot what county. I always know the county. I can't think of it now. But anyway, that they give a name to the residents of that county because they're very like, yeah, like that. A lot of them tend to be racist. They're very isolationist type that don't want to mingle with the student body, or with any thoughts that deviate from their own. So, yeah, it's a very interesting story. Now, comics are a medium where there's art and there's also writing involved. The only other artistic medium like that is film, and you did study film as well. And yeah, so how did film school affect your art?
Well, film school. When I started film school, I basically wanted to do artistic films, and then they didn't really exactly teach us production design. Like they sort of did, but not how to do it. So like I kept hating my films because it didn't look crazy and outlandish as my art is. And then like I started doing film as a career, and I hated that because you're basically just yelled at the entire time. So yeah, I pivoted from film to art. Like I like this guy offered me 50 grand to make a movie, and I was like, nah, I'm going to art school. Like, to be fair, that was probably a good decision because I would have made a bad film, and probably not gone to art school and ended up basically in a position where I had a bad film, destroyed my career, and I had nothing else to do, and I'd hated my career. But like film pushed me towards art because I couldn't do the production design I wanted to where it was an artistic expression. So I moved towards art because I felt like if I put in more effort, because film is like a team thing. Like everybody has to come together and do the stuff. And like art, that's you. You're putting in all the effort. You're pushing everything. And it's based strongly on your talent. Like how you can get it done. Like you can have the greatest vision in the world. If you can't really draw it, that's not good, but you can pivot and then change up what you're doing to fit what you can do.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. Like, but that really makes sense. Film is collaborative, so even a filmmaker that has a specific vision, it's never going to come out exactly how you want it because you are still collaborating with other people who are going to have their own touch on that and their own artistic differences in that. That's a really interesting way to look at that.
That's true, yeah. In a way, comics, the traditional way at least that comics are made, it's similar in a way because generally you would have your penciler who just made the drawings, then you'd have your inker who went over the drawings. They did more than tracing. They did the shading, and sometimes they would edit your drawing when they were inking it. They would remove elements, remove people from the frame if it was distracting or whatever, add to the backgrounds. And then you had the colorist who then would add the colors, which sometimes you had absolutely no control over what they were going to do with the colors. And then you have, of course, the letterers who add all the word balloons, which could block. You could have drawn the best background in the world, like say how I am right now in this frame, and then you have this intricate background drawn and the person's face talking, but then the text bubble is going to be placed here and cover all of that up, and then you have no control over that either.
There's space for that. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's industrial comics. If you're independent and you're on your own, you're doing everything.
That's fair. Yeah.
You can hire out like different people to do it, but essentially you're in charge. So you're basically setting up where the word balloons are gonna go. You're the one inking. You're the one coloring in some cases. Most cases people don't color. But yeah, like we were like in my art school, we were basically developing into independent comic artists, and they were teaching us like how we made our money was that we basically did art for pamphlets and like presentations and things like that. Now that was part of the class I dropped because the teacher yelled at me for 5 minutes straight, so I didn't learn how to make money. But yeah, but I learned how to be an independent comic artist, and I learned how, like, primarily what I learned from art school is the directions of what good art is, like examples of what good art is, and to separate what is conceivably bad art from good art. That is essentially, if you go to art school, what you're learning.
In terms of what? What do you mean bad art and good art? I mean, art is fairly subjective.
Like,
I agree that there are some things that are mostly objectively bad, but...
Look at a Frazetta painting.
Fantastic.
That is a good art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right here. Boom.
Yes.
That is good art.
You have anatomy, you have... I forgot what it's called. Like, how you set up different... How the characters are placed.
Composition,
anatomy.
Proper composition. Color is a little weird to me for Frazetta. I frankly like Bernie Ryson over Frazetta.
I like the color for Frazetta, but that's where I guess it goes into subjective, right?
I'm not gonna be mad at Frazetta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like fantasy art, like Frazetta and Boris Vallejo and everything, they tend to be darker.
Old fantasy art,
I guess,
70s and 80s.
Genre, yeah.
Fantasy art from the 2020s is different.
To answer your question, art is sort of suggestive, but then there is like the construction of the figure and the hierarchy of skills. So there's the line work, there is proper line work, there is proper composition, things like that. That's what you learn that is good. And that would be, I would say, why you would consider something good, because it has those things in a proper order, versus someone who doesn't know how they're doing, and they could come up with a really great piece, but it probably isn't to the highest level that those are, because they're doing it by accident versus doing it on purpose.
All right, so now while we're on the topic of comic art and different fields, fantasy art and all that, comic art is kind of unique in it's similar to comic strips on newspapers and everything, in that it's a type of art that is more 9 to 5 than, say, what you would think of a painter who sells at a gallery or something like that, right? So how does, say, a comic strip artist supplement their income?
Okay, Gio, you know me. We've worked together at conventions. You know I'm not making a ton of money. Like I don't necessarily do this because I'm making a living off of it. I do this because I have a deep need to express myself. Currently, I only sell prints.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
all of those are avenues that you can do, and generally, I know that it's difficult for, say, a comic book artist to sell their original art that is actually used in the comics because the publishers will own it. How do you feel about selling your original art when you're creating all of these prints and stickers?
Well, currently the situation is you scan your art if you do it on paper, and then you send it to the publisher, and the publisher prints it. So you do retain your current comic art in the current situation. Previously, you didn't do that. You had to send it to them, and they'd make a copy, and they'd keep the original. But what happens in this situation is that people don't have retirement plans. They don't have health care all that much. So they save up their art. When they get sick and they're dying, they sell off their originals to pay for, expenses. What was the question? How do I feel about what?
About selling your originals.
I don't want to. I'll do it because it's money and I need money, but I don't want to sell my originals. I want to retain my originals, make copies of those originals, and sell prints of those originals, and do that for the end of time. But I don't want to, but I will sell my originals if the money is right.
Okay. And then we reach the very complex topic of pricing your art, but we won't get into that right now on this podcast. But since you digitize a lot of your art so that you can sell all this merchandise and prints and whatnot, you reach kind of a conundrum that plagues AI artists. Not AI artists. Rewind. You reach kind of a conundrum that digital artists are facing, which is the theft of their art. So how do you feel about people using, let's say you were to scan your art, share it on Instagram or whatever, how do you feel about somebody taking that art and then using it? Let's say you're just surfing the internet one day and you happen to go to some website and there's your art. Let's say they're not selling it, they're just using it to decorate their page. How do you feel about that kind of usage of your art?
If they're decorating it and weren't making a profit, then I wouldn't be that upset. I'd be pretty happy. I'd be like, oh shit, I've reached somewhere. Somebody likes my stuff enough to put it somewhere. That would be very impressive. What if they're not making a profit? If they are,
but their website is making a profit otherwise, not directly from your art.
If their website is making a profit,
yeah,
that I wouldn't care. That's like a little gray area. If they are, however, selling prints, I basically do what Ray Bradbury did. I send them a nice little letter that says, hey, you have printed or you are using my work and you forgot to pay me a check. Please rectify this or we will have some legal issues.
Yeah.
That is basically what I would do.
In a similar token, so let's say someone likes your art and wants to do their own original piece inspired by your art. So they do kind of, an homage to it, right? So then they turn around and they sell it. And it turns out that their homage is selling better than your original piece. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what would you say the ethical boundaries there?
I wouldn't be mad necessarily. What would be the issue is the quality. If it's a worse quality and it's selling better than me, I'd be upset. If it's better, I'm like because I copy Charles Burns' dope number 4, I think. I'm not sure, but he has a cover for Dope Comics, and it's this skull with the eye, and it's like an eye sitting on a chair, and I always copy that, and it's one of my favorite pieces of art, and I mean, I don't know how Charles Burns would feel about seeing me copy that over and over again, but I'm certainly not selling that, and it's different enough from his because his is a much better quality and a much better style, and it doesn't take away from his, but it does lead people to his stuff because I mentioned that this is a copy of his. So in a way, I am the perpetrator in the circumstance. So it's not just they're doing it. I'm also doing it to a certain extent. But art is largely a copy of a copy of a copy. Artists copy other artists, and I've learned that in art school that it's okay to copy, like straight up. My teacher said like there are pieces of Sandman that are just straight up copies of art from like the Renaissance or something like that, that are just drawn in, not even like changed. They just took the painting, drew it, and stuck it in, and of course they elaborated on it, and it isn't like that, but it's just straight up copying, and it's okay to
a lot
copy.
of the early comic art, a lot of the very famous pieces, like for example George Perez's cover for Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think number 7, is Superman holding a dead Supergirl, and it's an homage to the Pietà, which is a very famous statue, and I guess we'll flash those on the screen, but yeah, I mean, homaging art is definitely something that is a form of flattery for sure. I guess even if it becomes more popular than your original. But now, what if somebody that you disagree with or really dislike uses your art? Let's say somebody like a Vladimir Putin puts it on the official Russia website.
Adele objected to Donald Trump using her music it
happens a lot with music, especially in politics. Yes, a lot of artists.
I stand with Adele. If she doesn't want Donald Trump to use her music, I think she should get the right to say, hey, don't use my music. If it's a copy, if it's just my work being used, then I'm upset. If they've copied it and they've made their own thing, I'm fine. You did that. If like Hitler came back and was using like my piece Emotion, like to inspire the Nazis, and it was just my piece of emotion, I would be upset. I'd be like, yeah, don't do fucking this, you asshole. And then but if he had some artist like Stanislaw Szysłowski do his version of Emotion, and he was populating his thing, fine, don't care, it's not necessarily mine, he copied it, he made his own thing, okay. But yeah, if Hitler is using my stuff, I'm not happy. I want it not used. If he ever has an artist copy it, or he's sort of an artist in his own right, I don't know. But if he copies it and he does his own thing, fine. But that separation of, is it mine or is it you doing your version? That is where my little window is.
So now here's an interesting topic then. Selling prints of your art, right? Let's say you're at an art fair and you sell 100 prints of the same piece, whatever, Emotion. And you sell 100 prints of it. You have no way to control what any of those 100 people do with that print, right? So, you can't really control that. I mean, does it bother you at all to think what...
Are you saying someone takes my art and then and sells it as prints?
No. Let's say somebody buys your print and then decides to make their own work of art. Would they cut it up and use it in a collage, or they take it and...
It's a print and it's not an original, right?
Yeah, for either one, print or original. No, I mean, for an original, yes, if they make a collage with your original, or let's say they take your print and use it on the back of it, they write some kind of propaganda for something you disagree with. I mean, you have no control over that, obviously, right? But does it bother you? Do you think about those kinds of things?
If it's a print, I don't really care. Again, if it's an original, I'm gonna be upset at the destruction of the original. Yeah, a Russian dictator guy, I forget his name. Fuck, what is his name? Stalin? Yeah, Stalin had a caricaturist artist killed, but he was like a huge fan of their art, and he would take their art and he would write like really stupid sayings and things on it. I mean, obviously we didn't have social media at the time, but like he was found later that he had done that. So yeah, if you do something like that, obviously I'm sort of upset, but you know, you paid me money. And in the case of, you know, Stalin, he killed whoever did it and took it. But if you paid me money, it is yours. You're allowed to do whatever the hell you want with it. I'm okay with property rights.
All right, so even an original, they take it, they cut it up.
Like I said, I would be upset. But there's not much I can do about it. I gave them permission. I took the money. When I took the money, I had an agreement that ownership had passed to you.
That's so interesting.
And you can do whatever you want.
So it doesn't translate to music or other forms of art. Maybe to movies a little bit, but for music, if someone takes a piece of a song and uses it in their song and it's a clear copy, I would say a majority of artists have an issue with that. I mean, you've seen many lawsuits. There are exceptions. I mean, hip-hop and rap is notorious for doing that, you know, taking a clip of a song that already exists and turning it into a new song. And that seems to be okay for some weird reason, but if someone else takes a piece of a song and puts it in and makes a new song out of it and makes money off of it, you almost always hear about a lawsuit that comes right after that. It's interesting. I mean, obviously you're an individual, so you have your own unique feelings about this.
That changed after a while. Like back in the day, as people used to do their versions of a song,
yeah,
and you know, as long as they would credit that this is a copy of this, and
well, if it's a cover, yeah, if it's a cover of a song, that's different. I'm talking about like they take a piece of the chorus. Let's say, for example, in this case, Eminem, right? Stan, he took a song that existed, took the hook, and made it hit the exact hook in his song, Stan, and his song became bigger than the original. And he made a lot more money. Now, he gave credit, I think, to the artist in that case. But there's other songs, like, for example, Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice famously took the beat from a Queen song, and that was a big issue. He got roasted for that. And again, I mean, his song, I don't know if it was bigger than Queen's song, but it was pretty big. And people did have a problem with that one. So it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't like a cover of that song. He didn't use anything except just kind of like the beat and some of the, the melodies from the hook.
There are some artists that are very, very protective of their songs. And it's interesting because for music, at least, and now we're getting a little off topic, but whatever. With copyright law, there's two types of copyright when it comes to music. There's the song copyright. So basically, you write a song, you can have sheet music of it, and the song is copyrighted. That sequence of notes is copyrighted. And then there's the performance copyright, which is, let's say you have your song and you record it. That recording, that performance of it, is protected by copyright. So you can't play that without paying royalties to the right. And then so like it works then for performing a live version of it. Then you have a live album, for example, you have that live performance is copyrighted, but the song itself is copyrighted as well. So then it comes to where if you do a cover of the song, of somebody else's song, they get a royalty for writing the song. So there's the song copyright royalties, and then there's the performance. Your performance of their song has its own copyright, and you get paid for that. There are bands like the Eagles that are very, very aggressive with protecting their copyrights, and they'll take down entire YouTube channels for even of bands doing a cover of one of their songs. They've taken down YouTube channels. They of course any bootleg recordings of their performances, they very aggressively have taken those down. So some artists get very protective of what happens with their art once they put it out there, which I think is very, very interesting. Where some artists don't care, they just want it to get out there. You'd see like street artists like Banksy, for example, they just want it out there to make a political point or whatever for people to see it. They don't care if they're not getting paid for it. Other people are profiting off of it. They're cutting off the bricks and selling those bricks at auction and making money, and Banksy, whoever it is, isn't getting a penny as far as we know, and they don't seem to care. But then you have other artists that really do care.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Especially your view of it, where you seem to be okay with, as long as your art gets out there, or someone paid for it, it seems like you're mostly okay with them doing kind of whatever they want, cutting it up, putting it in a collage. What about someone like Greg Land? Are you familiar with Greg Land, the comic artist?
No, I have no idea who that is.
He's known for using like images from porn and basically tracing them. And so when he draws like superhero comic books. So like he'll draw like Scarlet Witch, but her facial expressions will clearly be from a porn movie that he traced. From a woman in ecstasy or something.
How people have found this out is beyond me, because you have to find like, the exact scene and the exact position, and then pause it, and like you have to really know that porno movie to know. Oh, wait a minute, that's from there. You know what I mean?
In addition to tracing that, he has also been known to trace other people's comic books, and this is where the issue is. So he literally has some panels that are an exact trace. The character, everything but the background, traced from someone else's panel from another comic, maybe even in the same property. So he'll trace a Spider-Man, and he'll be drawing for Spider-Man, and he'll literally trace the image of Spider-Man that someone else drew. I mean, it's that egregious. What do you think of something like that? Just kind of picking your brain where you're at with these kind of things.
Like I said, I learned in art school tracing was fine. Mm-hmm. So honestly, brass tacks, the definition of an artist is, do you get money for your art? Quality aside, if you get paid to make art, you're an artist. He gets money, and he's working, I would assume, for one of the big comic companies.
Yeah.
And that then you're like slubbing it. It's not really your art. It's there in my mind, there is a division between art you do for money and art you do for yourself. And in art you do for money, you can kind of be lazy a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, you're just creating populist art for commerce. And I think what you're describing, I don't know the man personally. What you're describing is his commerce art. And I feel if you're putting it out there for money, he's not making anything else. The comic company's paying him pretty much, and he's pretty much getting a one-time payment for his art. If he gets that money and he puts it out and people read it, I'm not mad at him. Like he got away with it.
All right, how about this? Okay, because there are two famous artists. They both happen to be female in comic books. One is Joelle Jones. She's been accused a couple of times of tracing other artists' art, like entire panels, which is just insane. So I think it was a Wonder Woman comic where she has this panel and it's several characters, right? And somebody noticed that what she had done is she traced it off of a prior comic book, a Marvel comic book, and traced the entire panel, every single character off that panel, exactly the same, only she inverted it. So now instead of facing this way, they're facing this way. And so there were accusations of that, and then of course the internet, they take it, they overlay the two images, and sure enough, I mean, it was traced. There's no doubt. It wasn't an homage. And if you do an homage, generally the right thing to do would be to give credit to the original artist on there, on where you sign it. Then there was Rian Gonzalez, who's very popular. She has a very unique style as well. and Rian Gonzalez recently was accused of tracing another smaller known artist, so not anybody famous at all. It was just like, I think, an Instagram artist, and they took this Instagram artist's art and traced that, made prints, and started selling them at a Comic-Con.
Jesus.
So on the Joelle Jones part, she got paid for that one page one time by DC. Artists don't get residuals, so she would have been paid whatever, $200 for that page, and that's it. So would that be okay?
Like I said, I learned in school tracing was okay.
Interesting.
In the case of the lady that traced a lesser artist and was selling prints, I would I would acknowledge that, hey, inform the artist that he's been ripped off, have him sort of make an appeal legally, if possible, to say, hey, stop doing this, or give me some of the money you're making.
Yeah, so like a cease and desist, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or at least call attention to it, because attention currently is capital.
Yeah, for a lesser known artist, it would definitely be something, because it did help this artist once.
Oh, it did it.
Joelle Jones didn't credit this other artist. I think it was another woman. I don't think she credited her. But once somebody noticed, because somebody was following both of them, and said, wait a minute, I've seen this drawing before. And then, sure enough, and then they overlaid it, and sure enough, it was traced. And this other artist is going to get a lot of exposure because of this scandal, which, like you said, I think could be, for a smaller artist, a huge benefit. And so now they're getting kind of a windfall, because now they're going to get a lot of followers who are doing it just to spite Rian Gonzalez.
Yeah, see, like, that's violating my rules, because I'm like, if they make a copy or trace it and they elaborate on it, I'm okay. But at the same time, if you're doing it for a lesser artist, I am disgusted by that, because you're sort of taking advantage of someone, and that my thing is, like, you violated our social contract in that case.
Yeah.
And so that's more of a, not a professional thing, and that's more of a social thing, where you're sort of just stealing from a lesser person. So, personally, like, if you elaborated on it, if you took the piece, you elaborated on it, I would be fine. If it's just a straight up copy and it's a lesser known artist, again, social forces have come together because people are disgusted.
Yeah.
So
now, even if they do it without your permission, so I'm going to tie this into one of our prior episodes, which is about AI. So the huge problem artists have with AI is that they weren't asked or compensated for the use of their art to train these AI models, but these AI models aren't necessarily churning out an exact replica or an exact copy of their work. It's taking elements from it and learning to create something else. Now, how do you feel about that kind of use? Now, similar to somebody else using your art to create something new, what do you think of AI doing that?
I'm a little interested to see what AI would do with my art. Like, I tried to do a little chat GPT to say, hey, draw my thing, but then they tried to charge me, and I was like, no, fuck that.
Oh yeah,
no. I'm not interested enough to do this.
No, but, you know what? There's a new one from Google. It's Nano Banana. It's free right now. And there's somebody this other person that I follow on Instagram, we talked about it in a prior episode too. They take their own art, they make their own drawings, and then they feed it into an AI. I don't know which one. I think Midjourney. And then that AI spits out a new version of that person's own drawing, and it's slightly different, and usually I guess a little bit smoother. I would not necessarily call it better, just a little bit different, and they've gotten very popular on Instagram, and we'll put a link. We'll probably put up some of their stills on the video version of this podcast, but that is kind of an interesting concept, right? So there's a lot of people who really hate AI. There's a lot of people who are okay with it in certain usage, right?
Look, AI is a tool. It's like a planer for wood, or a new brush, or something like that. It's not necessarily good. Like I've seen videos of people who have taken their art and they've done the AI version, and it's just a crappier version because AI does not have emotions. It doesn't think.
Yeah, it doesn't understand
not human
minutia.
It's not human, so it doesn't create art in an emotional or impactful way towards the human experience. So in that way, it's a tool. In a lot of ways, AI has made things better for artists, because people who do actual art, people have sort of now gravitated back to art. Art is having a flourishing again because of AI, because people are just like, oh, this stuff is gross.
Careful saying AI's been good for artists. People are going to lynch you online.
Oh, they're going to rip you open, man. No, but it's good. It'll get people engaged. And the thing is, you're absolutely right. I since I've been going with you to the art shows and visiting galleries and all this stuff, I've realized that yes, there's been a resurgence in actual physical art, because that's one thing AI cannot do, is create a painting that you can physically hang on your wall and feel texture on, and all of these things. And your point about the humanity and the soul that goes into a piece, a lot of people like to mention that AI slop, it has no soul. But then when you press them and ask them, what do you mean by that? They don't know what to say. I came across a video that was very interesting to me. I had no clue that Paul Stanley, guitarist and singer for Kiss, is an artist, and he's actually really, really good. And he has done several shows. It's actually what he does full time now.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and I just saw a video, an interview with him. I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or what, where they were talking with him about his art, and he put it so perfectly. Like, he wasn't talking about AIR or about anything, but the way he was describing what got him into painting the art. And he went and showed some of his pieces and explained the story behind each piece. That is the soul that is missing from AI art. That story behind that piece. Because AI art can look cool, but then it's missing that soul. That, where Paul Stanley would go up and say, okay, I drew this and it's a circle, and I just threw paint on it, and it's a circle because it never ends, and that's how I want my life to be, to just continue going. And you hear this, and then you really start to understand the meaning behind the painting, and it means so much more that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah 100%. It's it tells a story. Like, for example, The Last Supper, right? Like, I love that piece because there's so much going on, and
it's a whole story. It's like a whole comic book. In
every character, as you go from left to right, every character's doing something, and it's so intricate. And each character has its own story. Like, if you have a piece of AI art trying to replicate something like The Last Supper, it just could not come anywhere near that. It would not. So I totally agree with you. It's a tool. A lot of people, it's like taboo to mention AI art. So I'm glad you feel that way about it, because we had, like Gio was saying, a previous episode where we discussed the pros and cons of AI art. Some uses for it, some things that upset people about it. I personally think AI, just like you, I feel like AI art is a tool that could be handy. I mean, as artists, we can't just be living in the past. We have to embrace technologies that appear. Every industry has that happen. Music had that happen, right? So before it was acoustic instruments, and then electric instruments came out, and people embraced it, and new forms of music came out from that.
And then you had recordings, and then it was like, bands are going to lose work because now you have to pay them to perform. Yeah.
So other forms of art, even film. Film evolved from stage plays and things like that. Like, it went into stage plays and just recording stage plays, and then eventually making actual stories that are filmed and cut and processed in a back room. And all these different types of art have evolved, but for whatever reason, physical media, in terms of visual arts, it seems like they are more resistant to evolving and embracing technologies than any other type of or form of art.
100%, yeah, because yes, exactly. With comic books,
to be fair, I am mad that artists are losing their jobs because of AI, and people in general are losing their jobs because of AI.
Yeah.
At the same time,
I'm gonna get roasted because I'm not mad about that, and I'll elaborate, but I'll let you finish your point before I elaborate.
No, go ahead. I'm done. I'm just wanting to elaborate that I am mad that people are losing their jobs. Like, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't necessarily think we're being replaced by something better. I think we're being replaced by something easier, and not mad that it's easier, but at the same time, I'm like, the craftsmanship is disappearing to a certain extent, and it will get better, I hope. But at the current rate, it's not very good. But the fact that everybody's investing in it and sort of stripping away, it's a little haphazard to me.
So here's my take, and it is a hot take. So prepare yourself. If you have a buckle in. So Gio knows I get intense about this stuff. So the way I see it is this, and this sounds callous, but every industry goes through this. Okay, it happened to video stores. It's happening to taxis right now, right? Those who don't
miss video stores.
Yeah, I mean, sure, people do. But the bottom line is, it happens in every industry. Those who don't adapt and evolve with the technologies that are presented to make things better and faster and more efficient, those who don't evolve get left behind. You know, do you see anyone on the street riding a horse and carriage? No, right? So now everyone uses cars, bicycles, whatever it is, but it's different. Things are different. Now, walking is still a thing, right? So this is kind of, hopefully people can see where I'm getting at here. Walking is still popular, which is the most basic of it. Just how painting with paints and oils and charcoal and all that on physical media is still always going to be around, just like walking is. As far as digital media, we got to understand that that's only been around for a very small amount of time. I think maybe 30 years. Think about it. People weren't doing digital drawing, digital art on Procreate or Photoshop until very, very recently. Those are the people losing their jobs, if you think about it. Those are the people who, and the amount of artists, and I'm saying in quotes, I'm not saying they're not artists, I'm just saying the amount of artists overall has multiplied hundredfold, right? Because of digital media being available to them. So a person who's just sitting at home, never went to art school, can watch a YouTube video and learn how to do digital painting using layers and all that stuff, using Procreate on their iPad, and now they're an artist. And then they quit their job and they're like, well, I'm losing my job because of AI art. But, you know, will they ever be able to do physical media? If digital didn't exist, would they even ever have thought about becoming an artist other than doodling on a scratch pad? I don't think so. So all the people who are traditional, like you and Gio, I do digital. So when I say this, trust me, I am a digital artist myself only. I do not know how to do physical media. So the people who do physical media, that's always going to be around, just like walking. That's the way I see it. And the value of that. Sorry, I'm just...
The danger is definitely to the digital artist. The traditional artist is no danger, is zero danger from AI. They do not feel threatened. When we do the art shows, I don't see any of them worried about AI taking over or anything like that.
In the year 1990, and sorry to cut you off real quick, in the year, let's say 1990, the only way to see art was see pictures, photographs of an original piece of art, printing a piece of art from a computer from an original piece of art, or going to an art gallery. And physical media is still going to be able to do that. Like, the things that evolved from 30 years ago evolved very quickly, and now maybe they're gone. Maybe digital artists are going to be a thing of the past other than casual. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you know, I think people don't understand that. People don't understand that it's so new, and so those who are losing their jobs, like, that's only been around for a little bit.
There are certain things that are new technology. Certain new technology doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to replace old technology. For example, you had CDs, right? And then around the same time that CDs came out, you had the mini disc. Mini disc was superior to CDs and tapes. and it never took off. It was smaller. It could hold more music. Portable. It was great. You know, you could record over it like a tape, and it just never took off. But it was a better technology. You see portraits, right? Like picture frames. You have digital picture frames. Those have been around since the 90s, since digital photos became a thing in the 90s, late 90s. I have not yet been to a house where they have a digital photo frame anywhere in the house on display. I bought some. I've never used them. They just never took off.
I don't like how they look.
You know, the selling point is that you can, rather than just having the one static photo, you can display 30 different photos or 300 different photos and have them on rotation and have a different photo every time you look over, right? But it just never took off. They also have now, I just saw, they're selling digital frames for art. So they're trying to do this where you can, instead of putting a physical painting on your wall, you can have a digital frame and change the piece using a digital piece of art. I don't think that'll ever take off either. I don't think that is gonna be as popular as a regular painting that's framed and on your wall. It's just very different. So certain technologies may seem like a good idea. They may seem like it'll overtake something, and they don't. And it's funny. The problem I have with AI art, of course, which we discussed in the AI episode, is people who claim to be artists when that's all they do is AI art, because then you have no skill. You know, and I saw something recently that put it into context really well. It said, somebody posted this, and they said, calling yourself an artist when all you do is AI is like calling yourself a chef when all you do is eat up TV meals in the microwave. You know, and it's true.
That's fair. That's a really good statement.
They nailed it.
Yeah. So I get your point about people losing their jobs. I mean, no one ever wants to see people losing their jobs, but those jobs, they're new. You know, they were a blip in time.
No. My problem is if it was a better quality product replacing us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think AI is there yet. Like it doesn't create a better product. It creates a substitute product, but it's lesser, and that's what bothers me. If it was something better and it could like replace us, absolutely, I wouldn't care. I'm like, yeah, future, it's here. But the fact that it's not as good, it's just cheaper.
Yeah,
this person's comment. This is what makes that comment so perfect. It's like, you know, sometimes you just need a quick meal, and you're on the run, and you just have 3 minutes.
It's
Okay, throw it in the microwave, cook it up for 3 minutes, and it's ready, and you eat it on the run, and it solves the problem. But it's not going to take the place of a steak at a 5-star, you know, a Michelin star restaurant.
I get your point. I agree with your point, actually, in that. It's to a degree. Some companies, if it's for corporate, like for corporate use, they just need good enough. If the piece is worse than what someone could do, the company doesn't really care, right? And so it is. It opens up that artist to do something that they're more passionate about. Because if I'm making a logo for a company, how many people are going to be really passionate about that? It's just work. And sure, it's food off your table because it's now going to AI. But in the end, if you're an artist, like that's not really something that you're passionate about. So are you truly doing art for money if you're doing something you don't like? You know what I mean? Or are you just going through the motions? You know, and just one last point to really drive my point home about the blip in time, the job just being such a short amount of time for digital artists, because I know people are going to roast me in the comments about it. Think about it with the taxi situation, right? Taxis have been around, right, for over a century. They were going up in arms because rideshare became a thing and were taking jobs away from the taxi drivers. So Uber, Lyft, right? And now Uber, Lyft is a blip. They've been around for 10 years, 15 years, and they're going away. They're losing their jobs because guess what? Las Vegas, California, LA, even New York, you have cars that drive themselves. And now they're taking jobs away from the Uber drivers. So the way I see it, the digital artist is the Uber and Lyft driver. It's a new thing that just has been around a couple of decades, and it was cool, but because they chose to go with technology, it comes with the whole package. You went the digital route. Digital, by its nature, is going to advance very quickly, and you have to evolve with it, or you're going to be left in the dust. That's the way I see it.
Like Blu-ray versus Laserdisc.
Yeah.
You know.
So those digital artists can become physical artists, and I guarantee you, if they're really that good, they can sell one piece for hundreds or thousands of dollars. And I know that's easier said than done. I get that before people start posting comments. I get it, man, but there is still work for digital artists. There is. It's just different, you know. I pay digital artists, and we'll get to that when we talk about our artists of the week for each of us. Which actually, maybe, unless you guys have any more points to make regarding this topic.
Just to add an example to your example, Blockbuster. You know, Blockbuster was the biggest movie rental company in the U.S. and in certain other parts of the world, and they saw the digital age coming. Netflix started as a mail-in service for DVDs, and you had a wish list, and then they'd mail you a DVD, and then you'd mail it back. They'd mail you the next one on your list. And they saw the potential in streaming. And as technology was advancing so quickly with, you know, faster internet and all this stuff and data, they started looking into it and doing it. And around the same time, you had Redbox, which was a vending machine for DVDs that you'd rent. You'd pay $5 and they'd rent you the DVD, and you'd have like 3 days to bring it back and return it to the machine. And they also had the potential. They got bought by Walmart. They had the potential, and they saw digital coming too, but they did nothing about it. And Netflix was the only one that moved, and now Netflix is one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah.
And because they were able to hook onto the next thing, and pretty soon people are getting sick of paying for streaming services. So I think pretty soon things are going to change drastically as well, even on that front. So everybody's got to evolve and keep up to stay relevant.
Any last points?
No, I'm good.
Fair enough. Okay, so every week we talk about an artist that we would like people to turn their attention to, showcase. So this week we each have chosen an artist, and we'll start with Mike. Who's an artist that you want to bring some attention to?
Okay, I thought about this for a long time. I picked like a bunch of artists, and I went down them, and I'm like, maybe I should say Barry Ryson or Mary Blair, because I'm inspired by them. But I ultimately chose this guy, Gerald Scarfe, Scarfe, and he is a British caricaturist, and you have seen his work. You know why you've seen his work? Have you seen the Disney movie Hercules?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I love the art in that movie.
He designed the characters
that's
for
cool.
Hercules.
Wow.
That's his style. And so
Very
Scarfe,
cool.
like I watched 2 documentaries on Scarfe. Scarfe was doing, he does, like I like him because he's offensive. Like he doesn't try to be nice. He writes, his characters are made to piss you off.
Nice.
Like
right up my alley.
Well, that's the best type of art, right? The type that gets
brings out
emotions going. Yeah.
And so the documentary I saw, he was basically doing London portraits. Like he's in England, and you know they have the very academic world, and he does publishing. Like he creates his comics to be published, or his cartoons to be published, and you know he has the reputation of like just being scatological, just like straight up going for you. And they let him do portraits, the portraits in the British Museum, caricatures of them, and he just sort of went off, and he was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go for a few of these and just be offensive. And then I was like, no, like I'm gonna do somebody else. And then I saw another documentary on his Hercules work, and he also worked for Pink Floyd doing the animation. I think for In the Wall or something, Breaking the Wall.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he really took Hercules very seriously, and he would go in and and he takes anatomy seriously. His stuff is like very like scratchy and character oriented, but he actually wants them to be fully anatomy conscious characters, like an
as far as
anatomy
proportions and
underneath
stuff?
the drawing. No, anatomy under the drawings, because they're kind of silly looking.
Yeah.
But you know, they could physically walk in the real world if they were real.
I see what
and
you're
like
saying.
the Disney artists kind of were like, no, we're gonna just make them like shapes and stuff, and he was sort of upset about that. But he took things seriously, and to me, that is a great artist. Like taking first, having the interest to be like, I don't care what you think about me. I'm gonna take you down with your art, with my art. I'm going to take you down a peg. I don't care what your reputation is. I don't care how angry you're going to get. My art is my art, and I'm going to take you down a peg. And also at the same time to take seriously your art, that if your characters were real characters, their bodies would work in the real world. So that's why
cool.
I pick... that's why I pick Gerald Scarfy. Because I respect him. I like his work.
Nice.
I always liked Hercules, the designs of the characters.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah,
Very cool.
They're it's very different than other Disney designs, Disney character designs, which are like very.
It reminds me,
pretty...
the designs for Hercules remind me of, there's a game, and I'll post it on the screen, but there's a tabletop role-playing game called Dragonbane, and the way the characters look it's really, really cool. So they're very like that, you know, like very similar in the design. The characters have very like sharp features, kind of cartoony, but almost like in a dark way. You know, it's really neat. And the Hercules designs, and if Skarky draws like that on a lot of his things, then that's right up my alley as to the way I like certain things to look. Like they just look really, really cool. I'm trying to find a piece here, but I'll post it on the screen. What about you, Gio? Who's your artist of the week?
Yeah, so I was talking about Mike's art and how you know it instantly when you see it. Like he has such a unique style. So there's just a handful of artists in comic books who, you know, you think comic book art, you're going to think of the artists of the 90s, and a lot of them stood out, but a lot of them were very similar to other artists. But one that really stands out now in the modern comic era, and she's one of my top 5 comic artists of the current era, is Maria the Wolf. And she is, I'm trying to get her for us to interview her. She's responded to a couple of my instant messages on Instagram in the past. So she does engage with her fans quite a bit, and, you know, with people who communicate with her. So you can cut this part out if you want. Just a surprise later. But anyway, so Maria the Wolf, she's indigenous. I don't know if that's her actual name or what, but she has such a distinct style. I'll send pieces to you. You can put them up on the screen. I sent them to you on Discord. So it's very cool. There's a lot of line work. It looks chaotic, but she definitely plans everything out. Every line is carefully planned and placed, but there's so much of it, and it doesn't overwhelm you. It just grabs your attention. And one of my favorite piece of hers is Sabretooth that she did, and it looks so.
It reminds me of a piece from the 80s. I can't remember what it's from, but it's a very punk kind of aesthetic.
Yes, that's exactly, you nailed it. It's a very punk aesthetic.
Almost looks like spray paint style.
Yes,
you know, that kind of like
but a lot of squiggly lines and stuff. Yeah. And it must be a nightmare to ink. Like if you see there's a Ghost Rider that she did, dude, inking that is
that
just,
Ghost Rider.
Like,
oh my god,
must take like a week to ink that. I mean, not really, but you know,
a few hours.
It's crazy. Yeah. But then she does stuff that can that's still in her style and can still be really technical. Like for example, she did I think Starscream from Transformers. It looks really cool, and just the background is what really stands out as far as letting you know that it is.
It seems like her backgrounds are like she'll pick a pattern and that's
Yes.
her background. It's not like buildings and different things happening. So it's not drawing your attention away from the main character.
It keeps
It's
the
just a
focus.
pattern,
It draws your eye to the to the character, right? So if it's a portrait, like of Ghost Rider or whatever, all the lines around him, all the fire, it leads your eye right to his head, and that's good art, is drawing lines towards your focal point.
Yeah, that's really cool. Really like that. Very interesting. Mine for this week is going to be an artist that I hired for Horror Issues Landing. It is Raven Studios, and basically they're a studio, but it's run by just the main guy. He goes by many names, but Raven Studios is what I'm going to mention because that's their website and that's their kind of branding. They do amazing work. Fantasy. They've done Lord of the Rings, the card game. They've done Legend of the Five Rings, the role-playing game. They've done my piece for Horror Issues and Landing. They did a ton of pieces for me, like 80 pieces. And they are fast, efficient, and the work is just beautiful. Really amazing. They're very versatile too. Like he has a YouTube channel, and so I'll link all that in the show notes. But basically, if you see his YouTube channel, like he does all sorts of different stuff, but he also does a lot of photo bashing. So that's something that like digital artists have the ability to do that physical media doesn't really have an option for, is that photo bashing where you just kind of take textures from like an actual photograph of a lake and use the textures from that and just bring that photo into your art piece, and then you kind of draw around it and over it. Very, very interesting technique, and he's really good at the photo bashing. I mean, when you look at the process videos, the pieces come out really amazing into their own unique thing. So yeah, I think Raven Studios is my artist of the week.
I had no idea that Raven Studios had a YouTube channel. Now I know.
Yeah, he's got like 200,000 followers.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew they were big because they've done work for Magic the Gathering,
Fantasy
and
Flight
stuff,
Games, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Like a lot of. Yeah, I was very lucky to be able to work with them for my book. So with all that said, any final words before we get into your socials, Mike, and how everyone can reach you and get a hold of your art? Last final thoughts?
No,
So,
not really.
how can people reach you, and how can they get prints of your art?
Prints, you're basically stuck with shows. Like I don't have a digital right now, but you can search me as Chaos Angel 424 online. That's all my stuff.
We'll link it in the show notes.
You'll get my DeviantArt. You'll get my Twitter. Basically, I'm still old school because I'm old, so I'm still on Facebook where I post things on Facebook. But if you want to link me on Facebook, it's Facebook I'm Mick /I'm Mick, Facebook /I'm Mick, or you can search my name, Michael Sirjue, Sirjue, and you can find me on socials. That way.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, and a quick note. Yeah, I saw that you also have your YouTube channel where some of your films can be seen.
Yeah. My older films.
Yeah. So
we'll link all that in
cool.
the show notes as well. Cool. Well, since there's no more closing thoughts, thanks, Mike, for joining us for the podcast. This was a lot of fun. Interesting discussions, some agreements
Definitely.
and disagreements. And interesting to learn about your history through the art world and going into film and how that kind of plays into some of your art as well. That's really neat. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, Mike.
No problem, man.
Yeah. I've been your host, vaseodin, and my co-host,
Gio.
All right, everyone. Have a great night.
Bush and Boom, it's the place to be. Games and